A record of 88 women were elected in this past federal election of 2015, which is definitely an up from 76 in 2011. This increase represents that there is a modest gain in the increase of representation of women in the House of Commons. And before this election, women only held a quarter of seats in the House of Commons, which puts Canada at the ranking of only 15th at an international rating of women in Parliament. Canada's first woman in Parliament was elected in election of 1921. She was elected in House of Commons. Her name was Agnes MacPhail. Since then, we do see a rise in women in politics and the rise in the seats attained by women in the Parliament. But still, there remains a gender parity in the reflection of women in Parliament, and no political party has achieved that gender parity. So today in my show, Power Dilemmas with Sarah Bokhari, the topic is women in politics. And to discuss the role of women in politics in Canada, we have two awesome, wonderful women, Sabrina Zuniga. She's an educator. She has a PhD. She's a mother, and she also ran in this past election in 2015. We also have Charity McGrath, who is the director of one of the biggest food banks in Canada, and she has also run in the nomination of the PC party in Whitby, Oshawa. Welcome to my show, Power Dilemmas with Sarah Bokhari. It's awesome to have you here. Okay, so my first question would be to you, Sabrina. Why should women be in politics?
Well, there are so many reasons for women to get involved in politics. The number one reason is to show and have your voice. Have a vote, have a voice, get out there and share your ideas. We know women can gather, whether we're sitting around having tea or any other occasion, and you have got great ideas. And we need to have more discussions in Parliament that are balanced between both the men and women who serve our government. You can serve in your riding association locally, you can serve running as a candidate, and then getting and serving in Parliament. So women need to be part of this and bring their ideas and their voice forward.
Okay, what do you think, Charity? Why should women participate in politics?
I believe women have a lot to offer the government in all levels, from municipal, federal, and provincial. We have a different look, a different take. We're excellent multitaskers. We understand how to run business from home to finances to children. And this is a really unique skill that women have and a strength. And I believe that could be instrumental in helping to run government in a more efficient way.
Okay, Charity, I think you're very right when you said that women have awesome organizational skills and they have a lot of other powers. So why do you think that there's still a gender parity in the Parliament, as I just mentioned in my introduction, that there's still gender parity in the Parliament and Canada has not been able to achieve equivalent participation of women at our Parliament?
Well, I think many are not aware that it's extremely difficult to run for office. It takes a great team to run a campaign, so a lot of individuals have to come together, and it's not like once you're elected to office, anyone else can come in and step into your shoes. There's no employee, there's no executive assistant that can come in and take the vote in-house or in chambers. It's only, and women understand this responsibility and they take it very seriously. So I think because we're real, under thinkers and we're planners, and we tend to shy away from taking that step forward into office.
Okay, Sabrina, I would like to ask you this question, that why there is gender parity in Parliament, and particularly I'd like to connect it to the question of Canada is behind compared to the fast track countries. Like fast track countries are the conflict-ridden countries, Bolivia, Kazakhstan, Iraq, where they have created kind of a gender parity in the Parliament, and women are participating in politics by being members of their parliaments. So why Canada is lagging behind? Why there is why there's no gender parity as such?
It is a difficult question. There are a lot of different parts that come into play. As Charity said, running for office is a very difficult task. And the way the system is set up, incumbents do have a very big advantage over anybody else. And that could be an incumbent who has been on city council who now wants to run provincially. It could be somebody who's been provincially and now wants to run federally. Anybody who's got that kind of name recognition always has a step up. So it's much harder for somebody else to run. But when you mentioned the other countries, it is really interesting. I have seen these studies and I have read some of these kind of reports. I think in a lot of these countries that are, the society has so much conflict, women shine as the ones who can find the middle ground, as the ones who can resolve the conflict, of the ones who will come and have a discussion and find solutions to problems. And this is what we see with women stepping up and said, yes, we can do this, whether it's in the town or whether it's in the country in the highest level of office.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Charity, why there are more women in these conflict-ridden areas in the parliament compared to the parliaments in Canada, where we haven't achieved the gender parity as yet?
I think there's a little complacency, to be honest with you, within North America. Women, having their voice heard, taking this step up. Unfortunately, it doesn't bode well for us, but I do think that these war-torn or conflict-ridden countries, they understand what it's like to not have a voice. They understand what it's like to live in that constant conflict, and therefore they're willing to take the step up and the risk that maybe North American women aren't so readily able or willing to do.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so once, Charity, if you are elected to Ontario Legislative Assembly, what are the issues you would like to come to the table?
I'd like to see quite a few issues come to the table. I think one is the fiscal mismanagement. A lot of people don't realize that we have the highest debt of any sub-sovereign entity here in Ontario. And that's a real serious issue, higher than California. A lot of people realize California's debt is very serious, but Ontario's even worse. This is an issue that I would like to see the fiscal mismanagement, brought in check. Right now, the Auditor General's report, and she's another wonderful lady that has just come out, that their accountability is off the charts. Like, they just have no accountability. There's billions of dollars being spent right now with no transparency at all. So they're talking about maybe hotels or pizza. I mean, this is just ridiculous, and that's not how government needs to be run.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Sabrina, I have a very important question to ask to you. There are issues with equity in gender, payment, in pay scales. What is your take on it? Why women are still paid less than men in positions of power?
Well, for a lot of the reasons is that women don't ask for more. Mm-hmm. Women will go into an interview, they get the job offer, and they tend to take what is offered, and not realizing that they need to negotiate back and forth and ask for more. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of training women who have reached to higher levels of business or whatever their professional life is, need to then be able to bring up the other women that are behind them. Running for office, a lot of it is, as Charity mentioned, having the team. And the team are the people who are behind you, pushing, constantly pushing, keeping you propped up and helping you through all of this as you're going step by step. And in professional life, in your business world, women have to do the same thing. Sometimes it's a fellow woman that will prop you up, sometimes it's a man It doesn't matter, but you have to have the confidence to say, yes, the job is offered to me, they want me, so now I'm going to ask for more money.
Okay, what is your take on this issue of equity in pay?
Well, I think it's slowly coming. It's been an issue, as we all know, throughout the different sectors. I really believe that that's the reason why more women need to run in politics or political office, because there has been a discrepancy. And I think as more women, take higher powered positions, CEOs, and run in political office, I do see that equality coming closer and closer. Also, the minimum wage, it has helped as the minimum wage has gone up. This also has helped to bridge that gap as well. So I think there is a ways to go, though.
Let me try to bring your attention to women working in Parliament and maternity leave. As we see in the past that there was an issue of NDP member of the Parliament, Sana Hassania, she was not entitled a maternity leave. So what is your take on this, that women who are new mothers, how should they work around their schedules with newborns?
Anybody who has the support and the drive should not be penalized, should not feel less entitled to run because they're a mother. It should not stop you. That's my basic philosophy there. There are examples of positive things going forward, such as Lisa McLeod, when she first became an MPP. She got the hours that the Parliament sat, she got it changed. So in Ontario, it used to sit until midnight discussing things. And she's like, no. So she worked with others and got that changed. And it benefits not just her, but any other male who wants to go home, any other father. So there, again, more women getting involved causes the rules to change.
What is your take on this, Charity? New mothers, daycare, and women in Parliament?
I think it's an issue. It's still an issue that needs to be addressed. I have a very close female friend, and she was elected 3 times municipally. And she chose not to have children because it does affect, you can't take that vote in caucus or in chambers. No one can take that vote for you. So she put, having a family on the back burner. She's now in her 40s, and she chose to step down away from politics because it is an issue. We have come a long way from 6 months to 12 months, and there is discussions of stretching maternity leave. But I think the basic perception of women, should be the ones staying home with the children needs to be changed. And men are the breadwinners also needs to be changed. It's just a basic misconception. So I think as women get more involved politically, these changes will start to happen more and more. Men will go on mat leave instead of women, so women can run in political positions, because it is something that needs to be taken very seriously.
No, very good ideas, very good ideas. Let's take the focus now to the aesthetic aesthetic assessment of women politicians, because women politicians have criticized in the media doing their aesthetic assessment and connecting it to their ability as leaders and as politicians. What is your take on this one?
Well, I experienced this. Having just spent the last few months running for office, you do get people who judge you based on how you look. So you have to be prepared for that. And women can get judged more harshly because of how they look. And it's not by, sometimes it's by the media, it could be by just your constituents as you're out campaigning. And you can't be angry back to them. You have to be very nice back to them. So it's a really hard something to solve. As you run for office, you have to know it's going to happen. So you have to wear clothing and be confident enough in who you are. You can see with the women that we have in our parliament, both provincially and federally, all different shapes and sizes. So you have to be comfortable with that. You have to know yourself. I would have to say one little story, if I may.
Yes, please.
A couple years ago, back when Hillary Clinton was still in the Senate, I remember getting a news report about Hillary showing cleavage. And I was like, here I am in Canada, and she's a senator in the US, and this is news that I'm hearing. And I'm thinking, like, okay, she's a female. Why do I care? And it's not that she was in any way dressed inappropriately, but somehow that was what they felt like talking about. So it's
an inappropriate topic, really.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be touched. I mean, there is inequality because women, we have to dress for multiple occasions, where a man can have one pair of shoes and it can go from the office to casual to winter to a dress suit. We are not as privileged. We have to wear high heels with dresses. We have to wear, casual shoes with business suits. We have to, if we're on the campaign trail, we're not, able to wear one suit and one pair of shoes or juggle between, 3 different ties. We have to have multiple outfits, multiple sets of footwear, and there's a lot of aspects to take into consideration. And I think that's why it's much more difficult for a woman to run, because she has to realize, if I'm campaigning, I got to change my shoes. Then if I'm going to go have a speech, I got to put high heels on, got to go back to the campaign trail, and these are things that people don't really realize, but they are real issues.
Oh, I think it's so interesting, whatever I'm hearing. But do you think there is a pressure on women to change clothes and, care for a certain style of color? What
Yes.
are people thinking? How are we women in politics perceived? Sabrina?
There's definite perception. If a guy dresses in a suit on a regular basis and then he wants to go campaign, he takes off his suit, rolls up his sleeves, and now suddenly he's a casual. Right? As you say, for women, it's not that easy. You don't just take off your jacket and roll up your sleeves and suddenly you're a different person. And people do perceive you in different ways. So you have to watch out how you dress in, again, your constituents, what kind of message you want to send to the constituents, because they're going to be judging you no matter what you try. The more you get into the media, the more the media will criticize. If you have a high-profile race, you will find that. And, it happens within your own party as well. It's not like it's outside of the party and everything in the party is fabulous. Within the party, you'll find the same exact thing. It's part of what makes nomination races so difficult, because you're doing it within your party, yet you're getting these same kind of dynamics that are coming your way. And so you have to battle through that constantly.
So, Charity, do you think that there is a disparity in the perception of a male politician and a female politician in the public?
Definitely. Yeah, there is. We have to change our outfits, maybe twice, 3 times in one day if we're on the campaign trail, like I mentioned. We have come a long way, but there is still ways to go. I think that the media and even constituents need to focus less on things of that nature and really focus on a person's platform. What have they done in the community? And these types of issues should really outweigh somebody's attire.
Okay, connected to this, let's talk about the imposter syndrome. What is your take on it, Sabrina?
Again, speaking generally, women tend to want to know everything before they jump in and try to do something. And if somebody is really, really smart, they will constantly second guess themselves and think that there's something I must not be knowing. And we refer to it as the Impostor Syndrome. They feel like this person must be smarter than me. Why am I here? How can this possibly be what I'm good at doing? So women have to just accept that you're going to feel that way. In what I tell women is like, it's okay. Take those feelings, just accept it and move on. it's hard to stop that if you tend toward that kind of thing, but move on. It's okay. If you need to do lots of background research to help yourself feel comfortable, then do it. It's okay. So, but it stops a lot of women from moving forward. And again, you could move forward as a candidate or the riding president. There are lots of different ways that you can get involved within your local, as well as even starting out in your school council. If you're a mother and you've got your kids in school, that can be a really good first step. Get involved in your school council and voice your ideas and your thoughts, and don't let that imposter syndrome stop you from doing it.
What's your take on imposter syndrome
Well, the
faced by women?
imposter syndrome is really a psychological difference between the way men and women perceive themselves, right? And I do see a lot of women second guessing themselves. We have more of a tendency to analyze and take everything much more seriously. And that's why I think we second guess ourselves. You know, how is this going to affect our family? How is this going to affect our friends? Can I take the time off of work that is required? You know, will I still be a good wife or mother or provider if I take this time off? So I think, yeah, it's a psychological battle that happens within a woman. Men tend to lean on the side of confidence from what I've seen. They just naturally feel like, you know, they're the leaders, and they tend to take things face on. They don't worry about all the insignificant things that us women maybe take very seriously in everyday lives. So I do think that we need to encourage each other, one another, to take a step into politics. We just need to enforce that women belong in the political roles. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay, wonderful. So let's take our talk a little bit forward. Is Canada gaining momentum in allowing women in politics? Do we see any momentum? Because it's 2015, our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said it's 2015. Are we seeing any momentum?
I would say yes. And just being on your show, being here, speaking to women who may come from all kinds of different backgrounds, these are the women who we know have great ideas, and we need to get them more involved. And yes, there is a momentum building in all kinds of different communities where women are figuring out how society works, and now we can take them by the hand and say, come join us.
What do you think, Charity? Are we gaining momentum in the participation of women in politics as a country, Canada?
Absolutely. Look at Rona Ambrose. She's now the leader of the federal Conservatives. This is a huge step forward. I can think of someone that was elected to Whitby, Oshawa federally. She was born in Jamaica. This is a phenomenal, she's from another culture, and she's a female. I think this is amazing. Kelly Leach, she's taking a step forward to become Prime Minister. I do believe just in the last few years, there's been huge steps, towards, women taking more of a significant roles in politics.
Okay, so I really want to talk about this question. How would you, Sabrina, as a woman who ran for office, how would you encourage other women to join politics?
It goes back to different ways that you can join. And so if someone is concerned with the amount of time that they're going to spend, then the best thing to do is to get involved in, say, the riding association, or go back to the school councils and get involved in small ways that are local, so you don't have to travel very far. And you can do something once a month or even less. Now, if you really want to get involved more, then you join committees, then you volunteer to help organize events, and then continue to meet people. Get business cards, pass out your business cards, and continue to meet people and just ask questions. Anybody who you think is interesting or who will talk to you, ask them questions, and just keep going. And see where your interests go. If you are somebody who wants to run for office, maybe you're somebody who serves really, really well as campaign manager, because we need women to step up and do all of these different roles.
Okay, what is your take on it, Charity? How should women participate in politics?
I think that's a great suggestion. That's how I started. I've ran several campaigns. Start baby steps, you know, maybe volunteer on a campaign, and then if you like that, you know, be a campaign manager, be an office campaign manager. These are all things that I've done personally. And then from there, you know, you can also encourage, let's say, our children. You know, it starts, if you ask any politician that, you know, is successful, they'll usually say that it started at childhood. Their inspiration started at childhood. I can think of, you know, several people that I know in my life, close people that have been elected, and that's what they say. So why don't we start inspiring our youth, inspiring our children, you know, start with, you know, getting elected to the school board. All these little steps will help in a woman achieving success in public office. And really, I feel like, you know, just start by, you know, introducing yourself to your local MP, your local MPP, your local councillor, and ask them, you know, what can you do to help them during their campaign? It might be just a really small thing like dropping off some literature for them. Very easy, making a few phone calls. And all of these things make a huge difference in understanding what it takes to get into public office. And eventually, you know, if you feel comfortable enough, you have a better idea, and then you yourself will be inspired to take those steps forward.
Let's talk about a few softer issues. Being women in politics, I know it's a very, very difficult task. How do other women in politics take women who are running compared to men? Are men more friendly, or are women more friendly to women who are running for office?
I found both. I found a lot of women volunteering on my campaign and helping me out. I had a woman serving as my campaign manager. For me, there was a lot of both. And so I got from former people who had run, women, and a senator helping me out a lot with what's hard for somebody who's doing it for the first time is how to get up and do a speech and sound like a politician instead of sounding just like you're talking with your friends. You have to sound like a politician. Men tend to do this so much easier. They get up there and they just talk really loudly and really boastfully, and women tend to not. You have to practice that, how to sound like a politician. So I had really good support from other women helping me with that. But I also had support from men, so I don't know how your experience.
Charity,
with
what do you
this.
think? You got a lot of support from your women friends in politics or your male friends in politics?
I think that in the political world, men that have been elected tend to be more supportive, and constituents, everyday women, tend to be more supportive to us women. I've been blessed. I have both. Obviously, I have close friends that have ran for office and been elected. But I do think that constituents, females, tend to be more supportive, and the elected males tend to be more supportive. You know, females, I think, are a little bit quieter with these types of things, and they have so much going on with their families as it is that I think that's why men tend to feel like they're a little bit more vocal and with their support.
Okay, let's talk about, you're a mother, Charity. Sabrina, you have 2 kids. How do you, as women in politics, how do you juggle being a mother and running your campaigns? Is it possible? And how difficult it is?
It's tough. Yeah, it's absolutely tough because you still have to maintain your home, you know, the everyday things that people don't think about, like grocery shopping or paying your bills or laundry or, you know, I have a daughter and she's older, she's 20 now, but it's still an issue. And I think that that's also why women tend to shy away from running, because they realize that when you're campaigning, when you're in campaign mode, it's 7 days a week, it's minimum 12 hours a day. It doesn't stop. So, you know, with that in mind, your home will get put on the back burner. And as long as your children, as long as you discuss it with your families, then they'll tend to be supportive. And this is my advice to any woman that runs. Be okay with your home being messy, your car being messy. It's okay. It's all right if there's literature and papers and, you know, things that need to be picked up. It's all right. Yeah.
Okay.
For me, it was not gardening. That was the hardest thing, because I didn't have time.
Yeah.
And after the 12-hour days, all you want to do is go home and sleep.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, or 18 if you're in the RIT period. So yeah.
And you're out and about so much. I would come home and want to soak my feet and do nothing else. And my kids are 18 and 22. So I charge them, go shop.
They're listening right now.
If they're complaining because there's not enough bread or milk, fine, go get food. It's like they have the ability to do it all by themselves. They don't have to have me do it. My husband, he can do the laundry. I don't have a lot of other family here, so some people really use extended family. I don't, but
I don't either. I think that's why
family.
we like politics, who are used to being strong women taking care of other people. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, but like Charity said, it shouldn't stop you. You just have to accept that
You have to go.
you're not going to dust. Your
That's
floors may get a little bit dirty,
That's
and life's going to go on.
Okay, wonderful. It was an awesome opportunity for me to have two wonderful women in politics, Sabrina and Charity, here at Power Dilemmas, and we talked about a lot of issues. And again, I would end at that. Anyone of you who would like to participate in politics, do follow the steps Charity and Sabrina had to give you. With the very good wishes of Christmas and ending of this year, I wish you all the best in your endeavors in politics, and say goodbye. Thank you so much.